Hey there, how's it going? Haven't made a video for a little while. I've been getting back into the swing of going back to work, so, actual work. We're being paid directly. So I haven't had the time to make as many videos as I would like. Anyway, the topic I wanted to cover today was to go a little more in depth about my basic knowledge of mascots. I did a video in defense of Gritty, the new mascot for the Philadelphia Flyers, and I thought people were being too judgmental of the character and were making things too mean-spirited about him. Now, this was just internet jargon. I don't know if it's any different for anyone else, if they're even interested in looking into it. I find it, kind of interesting. Every now and then I look into it. I look into a lot of things. Anyway, um, there's some important things to know. Vancouver, uh, their mascot, Finn, as he's known, he's a killer whale that wears a Canucks jersey, is very popular. A lot of people really like Finn. Um, Nobody I know likes the gay pride stuff where he was wearing the multicolored skirt, and I actually made a meme about that, saying, "Well, is it a chick or is it a dude under the suit?" And that makes all the difference. I mean, because chicks can get away with, weird colors and things like that, and it's no big deal. But not to sound, what's the word for it? Discriminatory. I would not tolerate that at all. Like, I know in today's society, everyone's supposed to be tolerant, and under a Justin Trudeau prime ministership, the white man's supposed to apologize for everything that's gone on in history, and it's like, how about no? How about fuck off? How do you like that for an answer? If you don't, doesn't matter. That's the answer. Fuck off. Anyway, the Finn, other than that, is he does his bit on the ice, and to entertain the crowds and things like that. And the concept design of him is perfectly sound. And then of course there was the Green Men. The Green Men, their main priority was to pester um, the away teams that were in the penalty box. That was their thing. They were entertaining, and they were actually more genuine than an actual mascot because, okay, although I don't enjoy seeing males in skin tight spandex or whatever kind of clothing they were wearing, whatever you call it, um, you could at least determine their gait, which simply means how they move, how they walk, and all that sort of stuff. Uh, and you knew it was the same guys doing it every time. Whereas what I wanted to make a point with mascots is that they're exactly like Michael Myers from the Halloween movies. They put a mask on a guy, he doesn't say anything, and he walks around. And in the case of Michael Myers from Halloween, he stabs people with a giant butcher knife. But we're not exactly talking about that. That wasn't the point I was going to make. The point I was going to make was he was dispensable. Uh, I'm fairly certain every single movie with Michael Myers, they just grabbed some schmuck and paid him $20 and probably, a box of donuts or something like that, and he went and did the job. And, mascots probably get paid more, but, anybody can be replaced because of the type of, costume that they're wearing. You can't tell if it's the same guy or not. In fact, I highly, highly, highly doubt it is more often than whatever. Um, the simple reason is there are plenty of people who apply for that job You never see the face of the person behind it, and whoever created it, whoever claims to be that mascot, they're just a spokesman. Probably just the manager, maybe not even someone who actually actively performs as a mascot. And that's the very same with Gritty, and that's the exact style because of the way the costume is designed. Um, as far as the gait goes, you can kind of tell, with their physical mannerisms and things like that, you can kind of tell, but there's a way they move that is clownish, and obviously it's choreographed. So anyone could be trained to walk that way, look that way when they're in that costume. It is far more difficult when you're in green spandex, like the Green Men. Um, and mascots have their purpose, and I think it would be a good idea if there were more mascots running around. For every 1,000 fans or something at the game, maybe there's 5 mascots, 10 mascots, whatever. I think that would be, more entertaining. Obviously, they can't distract from the game itself, but they can be an aspect of it because sometimes people have a lot of entertaining times, and you ask them what happened at the end of the game, and they're like, "What was the score?" Because they don't know, because they're too busy, observing their surroundings. Um, you know, um, I remember as a young person, I went to watch they don't exist anymore. They were a rollerblading hockey team, and they were called the Vancouver Voodoo. Um, they didn't last long. They were only around for a few years. I actually would not mind picking up a jersey of that, although I wouldn't want it used, and more than likely they're all used. That's probably the problem with it. But anyway, so I'm gonna, you know, perhaps think of it in the future of getting such jersey. But anyway, I had a fun time watching the game, although there were some punks that wanted to rickroll me pretty bad. And, I was a small person, no adults around at the time. So, that came with a fraught with danger, especially as a t-shirt cannon was fired my way. And I was about to get a t-shirt, and some bastard was behind me and he wanted the t-shirt. He ended up getting it, but I made him work for it. I didn't just hand it over. Um, anyway, all that aside, um, yeah, like this is another thing where you'll run into hockey fanatics and things like that, and they come in two varieties. They're either complete fucking morons, which most of them are. In fact, even in column B, most of them are complete fucking morons too. But in column B, they actually defend things that they don't believe because that's the narrative. And they don't want some outsider showing up and telling, how basic things are. Like, for example, mascots. It's not the same person every time. It may be the same person in many games. It probably is because they're well trained in what they do, but it's not the same person. It simply is not because they'd have to pay them more money. And if your face isn't there for people to see, there's no evidence that that you should be paid more. If you're an anonymous figure, and some people prefer that, but that comes with its consequences. They will never make big time money. I guarantee you, a mascot for the NHL probably makes 40 G's a year at the most. Like people are stunned. You would be surprised how many news reporters and things like that on the television, and offhand you may go, oh, they're smartly dressed, they're on television, they must be making 100 grand a year, and you'd be wrong. They're not making that kind of money. But again, it depends on what your perception of being paid is. Somebody who works as a mascot, like somebody who would work on a news station, um, would be privy to information within the NHL. They simply would be. They'd be connected, and they're officially on the payroll. Guys like me, I'm a freelancing journalist. I do my own thing, and when I'm useful, then that's when people come calling. Anyway, yeah, I'm telling you, there are multiple people who play these mascots because it is a physically demanding job. I'm not going to deny that. There is an amount of athleticism that is required, and you have no idea who's behind that mask, and that's the whole point. Um, okay, so I'll buy it. The mascots have some sort of a union or Teamsters or something like that. That's more than probable. But them making the big bucks ain't gonna happen. I mean, the ability to slap the NHL on your resume as somebody who worked for the NHL, and if you're a mascot, that says a lot on a resume. And it's the same thing for all the people who, do stupid little jobs too. In certain senses, if you work at a concession stand, which, any idiot can get, you get no recognition at all. It's like, fuck you, this is just a job. You get a resume, if you do a good job, and that's it. But those chicks you see sweeping up things on the ice and things like that, um, they're probably, for the most part, have some connection with either hockey players or hockey management or something like that, whether they're relatives, girlfriends, whatever, because the positions are finite. And there's so many people, who are actually more qualified who don't get those jobs simply because the NHL is a corporate industry and they have nepotistic hiring policies as well, which is why a lot of NHL players typically um, stay in the game beyond their own years. And they, also help, get future generations or relatives and things like that into the business as well. Obviously, at not the same capacity. Like, I mean, you take Max Domi, for example, and, you know, obviously Ty Domi was the clown of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was very good at what he did. He never won a Stanley Cup with them, but that doesn't matter. He's etched in NHL history, and that probably helped give a push in the right direction for Max Domi to get into there. I just talked about the concussions and how there are a lot of NHL players that are they're out, and there might be personal reasons, outside of the concussion lawsuit on why they are no longer NHL players, no longer really involved in the NHL. Who knows? It's a case by case kind of problem. Um, but the thing is, bringing these topics up actually not enlightening, but showing a different perspective, having reason behind it is enough for people to go, get rid of this guy, shut him up, and that's it. And you go, the concepts I just brought up are not difficult to figure out. I mean, anyone who's not completely retarded can figure them out. And, obviously that's the kind of rhetoric that you would expect from me. I've probably said some similar things along the lines in other videos, but it is the fucking truth that you will always run into idiots telling you you're wrong. They don't want to explain themselves, and they think their dismissive attitude's good enough. And it's like, sorry, motherfucker. A simple denial from you counts for jack all, especially as you're a fucking liar, and it's easy to see, and you've offered no explanation. Uh, okay, you just look like a cunt. And, there are people who actually are a bit better at lying because they give reason. It may not be the reason, but a reason, and it may be enough for gullible fools to believe. But I know that there are some people out there who are a little bit better at lying than others. I try not to lie because I think it's low down and dirty, and it is. It's an underhanded way to do things, and it doesn't matter if it's about money or if someone told you to do that or whatever. You look like a cunt. And the way I look at things, I don't work for the NHL. I don't work at my other job. They work for me. I'm an independent. Fuck them. I take the money and I do whatever I want with it. Obviously, I gotta play ball a little bit, but you know what I'm saying, man. Like I don't put up with their bullshit. And every corporation, organization, they all have bullshit. And it's like, why do they have bullshit? Because the people on top are mega ultra cunts. And it's like, okay, you want to play that way? I am gonna be a prick. I'm not just gonna go away because you don't like me. You don't like my attitude. You don't like what I have to say because it contradicts your lowbrow, petty, fucking squabbling that you're trying to hide from people. Your basic chain of command. I mean, I'm an relatively uneducated. I got my high school, and that's about it. And it's not like I sat down and watched a whole lot of NHL hockey games. I haven't actually watched a whole NHL hockey game in probably a year. Um, but I know the way it's told ain't the way it is. And the problem is they get mad when you tell them, look, the way you're saying it ain't the way it is. It's like they're the gurus, and if you contradict them, you're ostracized from the community. And it's like, well, fine, fuck you. I didn't need you anyway. Because I happen to be able to pitch a story that sounds a little bit more amusing than yours. Obviously there'll be some statistical, factual things of that kind of nature that I cannot possibly be 100% accurate in because the cunts have decided to make it a closed society. But what I'm going to say is that there's more to it, and their story isn't good enough. And it is indicative to everything about society. And you may see a little bit of people trying to make something into a real topic on the internet. Like there are so many videos out there, really getting into depth about certain characters, particularly from comic books, movies, politics, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, that's all good and well, but these stories are not good, and they are not indicative to what is actually going on. And, again, we live in what is called confusion civilization. People don't want people knowing what's going on because if people knew what was going on, they'd realize how stupid all the lies are. And once they realize how stupid all the lies are, their little petty tricks that they always try to pull don't work anymore. And it's not complicated to figure this shit out. These people, like, why the fuck are they even in charge? They can't even fucking, create a chain of command that's based on, I won't say intellectual freedom necessarily on specific topics because, there obviously has to be a hierarchy. But I am saying that um, they have to do better. Their rhetoric is pathetic. It is abysmal. It's like, why do you even consider yourself an intellectual when you fucking have to exercise your authority like a cunt like that? Like, I don't think you're an intellectual. I think you're just a big stupid asshole. And there's nothing clever about that. And if you're a big stupid asshole who's too busy exercising his authority by making sure everybody knows nothing, then uh, how are you going to make anything better? Really, like, how are you going to do it? Because you're obviously not smart enough to even cook up lies or even a plausible story for everybody else to keep them interested in the game. Like the National Hockey League, I mean, I wear an NHL jersey every fucking day, man. Nobody else fucking does it. And, it isn't actually difficult other than having to deal with other assholes in different organizations. That's where the fucking difficult part comes in. To convince people that, hey, man, wearing an NHL jersey is nothing wrong with it. Watching this is entertaining and insightful, and there's more to it than what you actually see, and there's this sense of wonder. And all of this gets sort of back on track to the mascot thing. It's all a big goddamn secret with them. And they like it that way. And it's like, you're not winning over the intellectual fans. And, I'm not exactly claiming to be one, but I am going to say if you can't win them over, by simply being a little bit more entertaining than you are, then what chance are those people going to relay their experiences with the National Hockey League onto anybody else? What are the odds of that happening? Probably none. And it is something the NHL seriously has to think about because I can't believe how stupid everything sounds when you go to watch any sort form of media or anything. It's just like there has to be more complexity to it. And I don't mean sticking your nose in hockey players' business or even finding out who the mascot truly is on any given night. I don't mean that. They're entitled to their privacy. But I am saying that your story is abysmal and it is not difficult to add to it without being cringeworthy, without being creepy, and simply being more entertainment. I mean, this is sports entertainment. It's supposed to be better than what it actually is at the time being. And, obviously, a lot of the passion had to be taken out of the game because there were people who were taking it too far. Obviously, you can't have a riot, for example, every damn time there's a Stanley Cup. Obviously, that's counterproductive. It looks like we're supposed to live in a civilized society, and it doesn't look like we do live in one. But sometimes you got to build from the ground up and properly explain things to people, which is not difficult. It's just not. People think it's difficult. The only reason it's difficult is because people put OCD walls up in their heads, and if it's based on a flimsy foundation, you can push that fucking fence right over. Um, and I don't mean that in any kind of creepy way, but I am saying like you will run into full-grown adults who will act like they know it all, and they'll be just completely wrong about certain things, and they get angry when you question them, and it's like, why are you even part of the fucking conversation if you are a fucking moron who can't stand the thought of being wrong, even though you're completely wrong? And it's embarrassing. Like I honestly don't think humanity is particularly intelligent. It's got a lot of flaws, and it takes a keen intellect to be able to perform in the NHL. You can be some creepy gnome in the background collecting money and pushing papers and all that kind of shit. And there are a lot of people in the NHL that do that. NHL has its lawyers. They have their creeps in Wall Street. They got them all. And guess what? Anyone can learn to do their fucking jobs. I mean, you grow up and you look at certain professions and you go, This guy's a fucking half-wit. Oh, he went to school to be a half-wit. That's even better, because I can point out everything stupid that they are doing. And as I said, I've got a high school education. Now I can plain as day see where they fucked up. And it's just getting past the bullshit where people are too dumb to come up with a reasonable explanation. So their easiest answer is to say nothing, get mildly angry, and then back away. And it's like, you didn't prove fuck all, you idiot. And not only did you not do that, if you think that has a psychological effect on me where I'm going to go, oh, I lost interest, I don't care anymore. No, I remember you did that. You could have done that 6 months ago. I remember, you shithead. I may not show it when I go to talk to him again if I have to, particularly with the trolls on the internet and things like that. But I fucking will know. And these people, like, is this the best society he has? Because we're in a lot of damn trouble. And I have said that before. Yeah, if this is the best society has to offer, we are in a lot of damn trouble. Yeah, man. Mascots, important part of the game, but I was just getting the reason I made this video is I was so frustrated with running into stone walls all the time. And that's probably better that it was, in my earlier years, I did not pursue a direct hockey career because there would have been some asshole at every hurdle throwing a brick wall in my face, and that would have gotten just too irritating in the fucking end. And as I said before, they need an excuse to exclude people. So it could be for the smallest of fucking reasons. And they need to do this because there's a finite amount of money, finite amount of spots on a team, and all that shit. Except when it comes to mascots, because then you can have just as many mascots as you like. Don't have to pay them very much. They're not worth anything. You can them right on the spot for any reason. They're really happy to be there because they can put it on their resume and say this is who they were for the day and all that sort of things. Maybe even have some television appearances because not all the mascots get television appearances. They perform and, they're not always on the television or not definitively on the television anyway. Like they can't record a game and know that they're going to have a 30-minute or 30-second segment or something like that. Or even a couple of minute one during an intermission or something. Most of them won't get that. And, the NHL is not a poor organization. And I think they should, cough up a bit more money for the people who work for them. And I don't just mean people who wear, costumes or skate on the ice or behind the bench coaching the teams. I mean, like, the people working in concession stands. I mean, the people who are dispensing tickets and things like that. They're not hard jobs to do, but people got to be paid properly, And in saying that, the money has to be worth what it's worth. Obviously, does no good if they say, well, we're going to pay you more in X amount of years when that money isn't worth what it is today. Then it's just bullshit. You're just lying. And, part of this video and the explanation I made and how I had explained a whole bunch of things, it is in part, as I said, due to running into constant brick walls of people. They're simply hard asses, and they're like running into an ogre or something like that. They're not intelligent, and there are ways around them. And I'm the kind of person that will find ways around them. I had made a comparison in a video before, not a hockey one, about Heath Ledger's Joker. The unstoppable force meets the immovable object. And that is all these people are who work for these organizations. They're the immovable object. They're static. They can't move. They're stuck. But the unstoppable force, can always find a way around if they're smart enough. And it needs to be done. Really does, because there are so many fucking things wrong with society, and this is merely a symptom of that sort of thing, where people just want to dumb things down, dumb it down, dumb it down, dumb it down, and it's like they're never going to stop dumbing it down until everyone's a complicit retard. And no, I don't want to join some organization where they're going to slap some duct tape over my face and, I'm forbidden to speak outside of their little, group huddles or whatever, or within their organization. How about fuck you? I'm an independent. I'll do it myself. Because I don't feel like taking orders from a stupid asshole, to be honest with you. And in light of all this pleasant conversation I've just had, I have got to go to work in an amount of time, hours from now, but it's still an amount of time. So I'm going to finish this video up right here, and I will talk to you people later. Have a good one, and yeah.